Glenn Jessam, CEO of Silver Tiger Metals. Welcome back to the program. You must be feeling pretty good about yourself. AMLO left and no open pit mining ban.
Well, Peter, thank you for having us back. And I felt it's been a while. I think I've said this a lot of times, and not trying to be too self-serving or I was right, but it was a tough administration to get through, and logically we had built our business plan, which we'll talk about later, which is always stockwork open pit first, and then transition to a big underground high grade precious metals mine with some real nice width around those silver veins. And so in executing the plan, AMLO kind of threw a wrench in it a little bit when he, for what, 2 or 3 years, got up every morning on the La Manana, the morning show, and said, I'm getting rid of open pit mining. But logically, I didn't guess or try to be too self-serving. I analyzed everything we saw, and we're there 27 years, and how important open pit mining has to be. It's almost a requirement to make the mining there work on so many different levels, not just precious, but copper and lithium and concrete even. That I knew it probably wouldn't happen, and it was very good to be very correct in that. And boy, I think if you remember what I also said, and I think it was just after the election, that we thought this new administration would be much better. I was very right on that. And that's gone way faster in a positive direction than I even, and I'm a person who's got a very positive attitude. It's gone even better than I thought.
What makes you think you're out of the woods with Claudia?
Well, and we may have talked about this because I think it was July we last talked, and it was still, everything was upside down. Sentiment in Mexico was, we've been there almost 30 years, so we've never seen it as low for investment, for foreign investment. Um, the appointment of her government, Marcelo Ebrard, leading Minister of Economy, the Ministry of Economy, Barcenas, in I won't belabor the points, in Minister of Environment. I'm using our terms so people will know what they are. Very pro-business people. A very pro-business government was appointed. And I think it really started, that was great. And we know those people. And we knew that they were saying all the right things before they came to power, but they had to get there October 1st. And listen, the AMLO administration were not easy. We all read through September. I'm throwing the diplomats out. I'm doing this. I just like, oh boy, here we go. And maybe the sentiment even went to a lower level, but he did leave, and he did not affect or mining, and he did not get rid of open pit mining. And he said that every morning for 2 years. So that was very good. But her speech to the Senate was incredible. We monitor all this in Spanish. I look at it in English just to see what the messaging was. Her speech at the Senate inauguration was, your foreign investment safe here. I need a lot more of it, and it will be safe here. We're foreign investors. I raised during AMLO's administration $100 million to get El Tigre to where it is today. We're going to talk about that in an incredible position. Didn't slow down, didn't stop. A lot of companies had to stop because of the sentiment. We raised money at lower valuations than we probably should have in a normal Mexico, but that's okay. You deal with the hand you're dealt. And then really, I think something happened, and you can see the re-rating of the companies. You can see the value propositions for all the Mexican silver miners have gone way up since she's been in. And like they say, the market knows. The market can figure things out maybe before people like me telling them what I think. People with their money, I find, always usually steer things in the right direction. That being said, and maybe you didn't hear about this, probably 3 weeks ago or so, maybe a bit more, she had 100 points of governance that she had run on. It was on her website, her personal website as the candidate. And then shortly after that speech she gave to the Senate inauguration, she did a speech to the country. And all she did was she reviewed her 100 points of governance. And I've said this many times. This may be old news to some, but and it's been out there. 87 was the one on the list that always concerned us. It was a carryover from AMLO, and really even through her presidency as she ran, 87 was restrictions on mining, banning open pit mining, concessions, et cetera, et cetera. It was not good stuff. When she gave her speech and we came to 87, it was gone. It was now, I think we're going to build a new airport somewhere in Mexico. And we went, okay, she might have misspoke, but we had that speech. I reviewed it. I'm like, that's interesting. And then immediately after that, the 100 points of governance that week were posted on the Mexican government website, Canada.ca. I don't know what you folks have over there. And the 100 were listed and 87 was gone. And that's very positive. Did we know what exactly that meant? It was construed as positive. We take it as very positive. Two last things, and then we'll talk about El Tigre, which we're here to talk about today. Week before last, and this was maybe reported, it was reported a little bit in the press, brokered by the American government with the Mexican government, the top 250 CEOs, only US, basically met with her, a lot in person, a lot online, I guess would be how they do it, like we're talking now. And I know what was presented by her personally and the Mexican government to them was exactly a repeat, stronger of what, and this is a summary, because I've seen that presentation, of what she said when she was elected. Foreign investment is safe. We need a lot more of it here. I get allusions to nearshoring. I mean, they are in such a great position. I think the new trade on Mexico is, forgetting everything I'm going to tell you about mining, the trade on Mexico I think is going to be incredible over the next decade. That's my personal opinion. And I think some smart people think so too. After that, and I don't have all of them, but I can give you a few of the highlights. Amazon, all the big companies, Amazon, Google, all the big ones were there. Amazon announced $6 billion going into Mexico immediately after that. Royal Caribbean, $2 billion. NVIDIA, these are household names, announced, I think it was $10 billion spend on a new chip plant in Mexico. And the list went on and on. So the trade at the highest level has already started. It makes us, we're foreign investors. We're mining investors, but we're foreign investors, feel really, really good. Last thing is the interaction between her government, and they've only been in place a month, and I'm going to put it in a microcosm, the mining community. We're part of that. We've been there almost 30 years. The outreach, the communication, the can you help us on senatorial committees with some input and meet with us in Mexico City as we plan what mining will be into the future, has been incredible. There was none with the previous administration. I'll be very frank. Maybe none's a strong word. Very little. So open, welcome. The trade's back on as far as we're concerned. Mexico will come back. But here's what I think. You can see some sentiment coming back into Mexico. Just look at the valuation stocks and for all across the board. Open pit, underground, current miners that need pushback, permits, etc. But I'm going to use my analogy. They haven't jumped back in. It takes time. Let's say people have a toe in the water, maybe a foot now in the water. They're feeling it out. The re-rating is a permit. I don't care whose permit it is. We think we're very comfortable we're getting our permit, but I really don't care whose permit. There hasn't been a permit since the administration before AMLO's. He gave none, basically. Maybe a little amendment here, one, I think. But no permits, no new permits. I think, and I'm going to just change my tune a bit here for your viewership. A week ago, I was interviewed. That was the last time I was interviewed. And I was asked, permits when? And I said, look, I'd love to be self-serving and say they're coming next week. But I was very logical, as I usually am. I try to be. When I give information, it's not just a self-interested guess. And I said, I don't think there's permits being issued in Mexico this year. Why are permits so issued? We're all going to re-rate. The minute a permits start being issued, game is on, and watch the money flow back into silver miners in Mexico. They have, 25% of the world production comes out of that country, by far the biggest. It'll be I think, a rush back in. Now, I said last week, I think it was Friday, and people can look on the website. I always post my interviews there. I said, no, there's going to be no permits, I don't think, opinion, until next year. Why? Government is new. The whole government changes. October 1st, they're looking for desks and computers and assistants. Everybody's gone. Pencils. Where's my phone? And then they got to look at all the files, right? And they got to get settled. And Mexico really shuts down early December. It's a very big Catholic country. Christmas and Easter are huge celebrations there. And we've just dealt with that our whole careers because you just don't, it's not a week off, it's 3 or 4 weeks off. And that's lovely. Family oriented. What a wonderful thing. So what could they do in, a month in the next month or so? I thought nothing. But next year I said, get ready. logically, I've been keeping my finger kind of on Mexico right now, and what I'm seeing, it's going faster. So I would say now, could we get a permit or a two or three or four before the end of the year? I think there's a chance now. And a week ago, I would have said it's next year. So people should watch for that, because the trade after that, I think, is going to be more expensive than the trade now, if you believe everything you're seeing and all these signs I just talked about. So we're very excited. We're Mexico, 27 years, three big mines the group has built out of Halifax, two sold to majors. We're not going anywhere else. We were never going anywhere else. We've executed our business plan, which we're going to talk to you about here a bit with the PFS and what's next, because now we're back underground drilling. Got to get that underground going again too. We're excited about what we see. Let's just wait, and we're all fingers crossed for that first permit.
Good. All right. Well, look, I won't hold you to it, but if there is a permit before the end of the year, I think that'll make massive waves across the industry.
Absolutely.
In Mexico, look, obviously, look, we should move on to the PFS because,
Absolutely. That's what we're here for.
look, an interesting PFS. You're doing this based off 3 years worth of reserve on the stop work, right? This isn't the entire project. This is a low capex, good margin starter pit essentially.
Correct.
Can you just talk us through? Obviously, given it will be an open pit, do you think, one, if the permits that do come through over the next couple of months are all underground, will that still give you enough momentum? And two, maybe just talk us a little bit through the PFS as well.
Absolutely. I think usually we just chat, Peter. I think that this is a technical step for the company. I think we should share my Verify presentation. I think people are going to pictures worth a million words, in my opinion. So look, I'm going to start right here. I'm going to caveat this by saying, and people need to know this. This person is part of my team and has been for more than a year now. Very, very important. Our team has had vast experience in Mexico, and over 27 years out of Halifax. Mine builders, big ones, sold to majors. Always set out first day, first drill hole, get to a PFS or a feasibility study you can build your project on. That's the alpha return for us, and we're the biggest shareholders of our own companies. Leaving that alone, all of that skill, but you need a builder. You need someone who gets up every morning and all they think about is, how am I going to build this mine? How am I going to get this mine permitted? How am I going to blah, 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 blah. That's Francisco Albalez. We've talked about him, but I got to remind people, Argonaut. Anyone who was vested in Mexico remembers Argonaut. Big company, and recently acquired. They had two large open pit mines in Mexico from 2012 right until they're near end of life now. But fantastic open pits, massive earth moving projects, 100,000 tons a day. Ours is going to be 15,000. The person who, with Argonaut, drilled them, developed them, permitted them, and ran both of them, and La Colorado, a third one that they had, was this gentleman. And in 2023, he joined us and has been with us a year and a half almost. And so everything we're talking about optimizing the pit, how we're going to get the permit amendment we need, how we're going to build it, it's this gentleman. So everything we talk about the PFS, it's nice to have. We think he's the best open pit mine builder in Mexico. That's why we went out and we got him, and we're so lucky to have him on the team. That's my first caveat. Now, let's jump right in. We're not going to go back where we are, how we're going to do it. We're going to talk about two things. We're going to talk about this PFS. That's what people want to hear about. Let's talk about that. And then I got to tell you, it's done with a bow on it. We're ready to build this thing. We'll lay out a timeline of, if I get the permit now, how long to build it. But remember, I stopped all my underground drilling in that beautiful underground deposit. Just the results from that underground deposit, when I stopped over a year ago, high grade, we were at a 230 million market cap. Today I'm 110 or 120. You know what the Lassonde curve looks like. Well, I'm back underground now and drilling and get ready to have some of those results. But I think the market's going to like wide, high grade silver results in the market we're in. They always seem to. But really, that's so I can finish the work to come with my PEA for the underground for that 800 ton per day mill, which is on site and which I'm permitted for, first half of 2025. So we're going to lay all that out for you. That's sort of a summary of what we should talk about. But let's get right into this PFS. In our opinion, and in Francisco's opinion, we will build this pit on this PFS study. Very interesting. And I didn't know this until not that long ago. Francisco and I talking. He built both of those big pits for Argonaut on a PEA, and they both come in ahead of expectation with respect to economics. So very, very happy that when I say we can do this on PFS, we can. But really, it's about the money and the lenders, and I'll show you why I think for sure, we're going to be able to get good lending and term sheets on the basis of the study we have now. Let's talk about the numbers. I don't want people to lose sight of the fact of a couple of things. $21.50 and $26. That's what all these numbers on the screen are, the input for the price. Everybody knows we're way past that. So when I talk about this, I'm going to talk about study numbers, and these are the numbers on the screen. But I'm going to remind people what they are at spot price today, which is astronomically higher than if we were actually in the production with this project on the basis of this study, what those numbers would be. Last thing I want to say, I'm going to educate people a little bit that don't know, and I'm sure they do know, on PEA to PFS. PEA is 45 preliminary consent. The independent consultants write this. I don't write this. There's independent geologists, engineers, Golder, all of these. They put their input in and it gets written. I don't write it. I just get it delivered to me. So PEA, there's a 45, 50% a norm on each side of that, where that's the goalposts. You can be that high or that low. So that's why a PEA you usually don't build on. When you get to a PFS, you're down in 20 to 25%. A lot higher tests, a lot more studies done, a lot more metallurgy, a lot more drilling. You know what it is. A lot more money to spend. And so when people see the numbers and I hear, oh, the numbers came down in the PEA, of course they always do. They have to. You can't include inferred in the PFS. You can in the PEA. So of course they're going to come down. It's just, does that economic test hold together now that you've sharpened the spear so much more? Ours, of course, the answer is yes. Second thing is where Francisco comes in. We are given in a choice of 100 pit shells. If you know what a pit shell is, they're all different sizes or what you're going to do, strip. And we have to pick the one we think is the optimal one. It's called optimization. We picked number 43. I'll never forget the number. It's probably not the one I would have picked because we started with 53 million tons of ore. People have to follow this along. A lot of that was inferred. If you remember, I think 10 or 12 of that was inferred. That was in the PEA. You had 53 million tons, which gave you a 13-year mine life. You really don't optimize. You just throw it all on the table. Here's what we have. Now, what people should know is we lost a bunch of inferred, but we did more drilling. In the MRE we put out with this just last week, we now have over 60 million tons of ore. Okay, so the ore has gone up. Now, people say, oh, well, you're going to mine the 60. No, this is where optimization comes in. This study went to a 10-year mine life from 13. But the optimization that we chose, the pit to build right now, is only the first 40 million tons of ore over 10 years. That's what you see here. That other 20 million, we'll go back for that. That's called a phase 2 of a pit. When you see people doing pushbacks, that's not for a while. That's almost a decade away. But this is all of the ore of the 60 million we have, only 40 million it's in this study. And that's why the mine life was shortened a little bit. Now, let's talk numbers, okay? And I'm going to caveat this by saying, before I give you the numbers, I have a big institutional shareholder list. I think people should be reminded of that. I mean, it's public information. They own almost 10%. They own just under 10% of the company. Sprott Asset Management. These are the best precious metals funds, institutional investment funds on the world. Specialized only, long only. Sprott Asset Management, big shareholders. Merck out of Vancouver, huge shareholders. Van Eck, Joe Foster. Joe Foster's a legend in this game out of New York for Van Eck Precious Metals Gold Fund. He was on the mountain in May of last year. I think it was his first site visit to Mexico in 10 years. Came to see the project. McKenzie, Ixios. I've talked to all these people. They are extremely happy with what we've done. And they're the people that gave us the lion's share of that $80 million, $100 million during AMLO's administration when we were at the very bottom, said, get the work done. Straight up common shares, no warrants, beautiful. They're all very happy with this. And I think people should know that. For those that don't get, I'm sorry, our analyst coverage, and you know all the big banks. My syndicates are 7 or 8 banks: BMO, Desjardins, Stifel, 8. I could go on and on and on with the names. We, of course, meet with all them after this. So their salespeople very happy. More importantly, their analysts are extremely happy with what we've done. And how I know that is they've all written their reports. And they've all been very glowing. Some of them I didn't like. They were saying, wow, look at the amount of production that you have here. Look at the money this thing's making, low capex. They put a big target on my back that I was going to be acquired. I don't want that right now. I got to build a mine. So I wish they hadn't done that. But, I can't. They write what they want to write. Very happy. And the investment banks, well, they're just always tell you they're happy anyway because they're always looking for a deal. But anyway, leaving that alone, that's more of a joke than anything else. Everybody very excited about the results. And we'll talk about somebody else that was excited about them after I give the numbers, because we were in New York last week for some interesting meetings. And I'll come back to that in a minute with some of the big producers. So we'll come back to that in a minute. Let's talk the numbers. 21.50, got to remind people, and $26. We know what spot is today. So I'm going to give you the study number on this table you see in front of you, and then I'm going to tell you what it is at the prices today. NPV, 222 million USD, all US dollars. Today, that's 380 at spot. Pretty impressive. IRR, 40%. Today at spot is 60%. The payback goes from 2 years to, I think, 1.5 years at spot prices today. This is incredible. Over the life of that 10 years, the first optimized pit, not all of it, just the first 10 years of this pit, at the prices below, very conservative, 318 million, that's almost 540 million USD after tax free cash flow over 10 years at today's prices. What drives all this? Well, we'll talk about it in a minute. I think I need to show you the pit and what really drove it. But, part of what drives it's this. Where do you get that type of return for a sub 100 million USD capex? I mean, the capex, as you see them, go look at them. Go look at every PFS, 300, 400, 500, 600 million, a billion. That's a lot of money to go get. That's US. In that is a $9.3 million contingency. I want people to know what that means. That means we got our number at around 76 million or whatever it was, 75 million. That's the number we get, the independents put in. Then they go, we got to add 15% to that. Well, they just add 15% to that. So the number you see in there is, I think that Francisco and our team says, I think we're going to come in closer to our numbers. But leaving that alone, that's what that contingency is. It's not like a science. It's here's 15%, add it on. So we have to do that. That's part of the PFS. That's part of the independence requirement when they put that out there. A couple of things here I do want. Look at the low cost production. Call it silver. People understand. 12 and 14. All in sustaining cost 14. Operating 12. Look at the price of the metal. Low cost producer. Two last things. Everybody says, remember the underground is going to be, we think, 10, 20, 30 years. Oh, this is a small pit. This is a money pit. This thing is going to come out of the gate making 5 million silver equivalent ounces a year. You go look at some of my peers out there that are similarly in the production range. And Aya, look at my market cap, look at theirs. We're going to talk about that at the end. Remind me, Peter, the world has kind of changed in how we see at these extremely high prices of metal, the explorers and the developers being treated across the board. Those that are winning are those that get to production. And look at the Silvercrest, 9 million ounces total production. Now, remember, we're going to bolt our underground on this. This is just the starter pit to get this thing going. 5 or 6 years of production left. I think everybody remembers Corges went in there after the election and picked them up for a couple of billion. So production is important. This is not an insignificant amount of production, and it's only the pit. Underground will bolt onto that. We'll talk about that at the end. You said something about you want to know about proven. This was very important. Why we can build on PFS, there's 2 reasons. Okay, we'll talk about the starter pit in a minute. But this 3 years of production, this is proven. This was very important to move that to the proven category. The lenders can hang their hat on that. And at today's prices, even at not today's prices, you got a 2 year payback. At today's prices, 1.5 years. This this was for the lenders. These are the most important things for them. They get their money. They got proven ore for 3 years. At today's prices, we're paid back at 1.5. At those much lower, 21.50 and 26, we get our money back at 2 years. That's where they start. That's their starting point. And some of these projects and low capex, low capex helps, of course. Now some of these are 3 year paybacks, and they've got to go all the way to a feasibility study to ever be able to deliver something like that. That's why we hung our hat on this, and the lenders are looking at this. Very high end, very good lenders. I don't have to say who they are. They've been under CA for a long time doing their work. I've told them very clearly what I would like from them is I'd like term sheets subject to my permit amendment for the amending the underground permit to do the open pit by end of January 2025. They're all doing the work. They know we're not going to a feasibility study. So, that kind of the proof's in the pudding there. That being said, I want to show you this pit. And I think this is really important for people to see. This is the final pit. You're looking at those 10 years right there. Beautiful. A couple of kilometers, 150-meter benches. Wonderful. You can see all the red. That's all your proven ore. It's a big chunk of that ore, as you can see, 12, 13 million tons. First 3 years, what we starter pit, fantastic. Overall strip, 1.7 to 1. That drives economics. Grade, call it 0.5 overall, 0.4, 0.5 overall. Fantastic numbers. You can go look at the real numbers in the study. It's all in the press release we just put out for the PFS. As an example, those big pits that Francisco built for Argonaut, 5 to 1 strip, and I think the grade was 0.25 and 0.35 overall. And people know what that means. Overall in this pit, I moved 1.7 tons of ore, rock, to get a ton of ore. Now you can see the cost effectiveness. You got to move 5 tons of rock to get a ton of ore. Well, you can do the math. Now, here's what the mountain where she really delivered a gift. And this is something that, you can't plan this. The millions and millions and millions of years ago, when this all formed, you got lucky a long time before you were ever here. So what this is you see on the screen is this is that starter pit. What you're seeing here is that first 3 years of production. Let's round it to that, the tons I talked about. And it's really simple what happened here. 2 things. Remember, the old timers in the mine went down to the great depth where the 3 veins came together, and they took that 100 million silver equivalent ounce at 2.5 kilos. That's where that blowout of mineralization. The same thing happened right here because that's where they came together at surface in that great plumbing, and you got a blowout of super high grade mineralization. And what you got here, as you can see, what we did with it is all of that, right in the start especially, is proven. And here's the key. The strip, 0.3 to 1, and grades approaching a gram. That's the magic. That's really what the mountain delivered for us in the starter pit, and why the economics are there early, and why the payback so soon, and all of the various things we need to have happen. It's really simple. People are going, well, what does that mean? There's no strip. It's really simple. You can see the deposit's on the side of the mountain. You're coming in and you're just extracting the ore, and there's barely any strip for the first 3 years. And then, of course, you have to start moving mountains to get at it later on, and that's why the strip goes up. But still very, very, very low. That's what drives the economics on this thing. And the other thing, and I'm going to show people this so they understand, mining's not easy, okay? Mining's not easy. Open pit mining in Mexico, 70% of the precious metals, I think, still come out of open pits today, okay? Why I thought it would never go away. It's easier because it's not easy, but it's lower capex, and it's easier because it's simply, for us, this is Reader's Digest. This is not a technical explanation. You can see here there's 0 strip. You just start hauling in the truck, blasting and hauling to the crusher. Put on the crusher. It's crushed to 3/8. It's pretty large size, and that's what we're optimized at for this pit, doing all the work, all the metallurgy work up in the States, in Nevada. That being said, no agglomeration. You then basically have a conveyor feed system, which feeds the ore out, and you hit it with the cyanide. And in 90 days, you've got 85% or so of the gold out and 45 to 50% of the silver. it can't get easier than that. That's the power of open pit mining, and that's why low capex, massive. It makes a lot of money because you need that for what I'm going to talk about in a little bit as we go underground. So, look, I love to go back to this cartoon. I think it's always the simplest thing about El Tigre is stockwork at surface. I just showed it to you. Epithermal vein. We always knew we had that. All of this mineralization is epigenetic, which means when that vein went through that stockwork, it was grey plumbing and there was 100, 150 meter widths of that ore, and that's done. You dig that up, PFS is done with a bow on it. No more work required. Finished. I don't think I will get my open pit permit until next year. Am I hoping it's going to be first half? Yes, but just we'll talk in a scenario where I really forward look, but when I may get it, we'll look at a plan. But I can't build that yet. I got to still get my debt in line now that the PFS is out. I got things to do, but we have an 800 ton per day underground permit, as you know. This, on Francisco's advice, the permit for this is not a new permit for the underground. It's an amendment to the current permit to allow us to do that. So we got to wait though. What am I going to do? I'm not going on vacation. If you're talking to you today, if I was going on vacation, I'd be gone. Back to work, because you got to remember this is next. So, we're back. I hope the drill starts turning next week. That's the plan from underground, but we'll come to that. Something I want to show you, and I don't do a good enough job because we get halted. We're kind of the mining team gets ultra focused on get that pit cut. Let's get it done. Let's get 50 million USD free cash flow flowing into our jeans a year, and the world's going to be a beautiful place. We rate like the some of my peers. I said automatically from 100 to you look at the 100 million market cap to where they are. That's what we're looking for. That's the place we want to land. But I don't talk about this enough. I really, really, really don't. And I'm going to start because what people forget. I don't forget. I don't tell it enough. This is our land package. That's 35 kilometers of the trend. Okay. We have right here the old Tigre mine. We've mapped and sampled 10 kilometers and 10 kilometers. Going south is exactly the same. There's open pit potential. There's all kinds of little underground mines. We've sampled it. We haven't drilled it. It's the same. Going north, the veins continue for 3 kilometers, exactly the same veins. We just got to drill them. Now, all of our drilling has been in this 3 or 4 kilometers. I want people to understand we'll get 3 or 4 drill rigs on each end of this, or 4 or 5 in the future, because we think that, I know, that we'll be drilling here. I'll be dead. They'll still be drilling ounces on this deposit. 100%. And I'm not, that's what my geological team tell me. That's what the smartest people who've been doing this with us 30 years tell me. But you have to focus on this. I want people to understand on this that the old timers took 100 million silver equivalent ounces at 2.5 kilos, cutoff grade of 1.2 kilos. Amazing, 20 years. With 100 ton and 200 ton per day mill. That's why we acquired it. We said if we drill just a little under and around the old mine, that's going to go really well. And it has. We've got 100 million silver equivalent ounces in the open pit, give or take a bit, ready to build. Already in the underground with limited drilling, we've got 100, I think it's 110. I don't even quite, it's over 100 in the underground. To put that in perspective, that's 11 million tons of ore already in the MRE for the underground. At an 800 ton per day mill, it would take me 31 years to process it. People have to understand how much ore is already there, and we're just getting going. Now that's 300 million. We've put 200 in the books. We know the old timers took 100. We have all the underground mining records. Smart people would have went and looked at this. This is not my chart. This came out in the PFS. Because what the independents also do, they say, look, you got 100 in the underground, you got over 100 million in the underground, you got over 100 million in the pit. And then they always say, what we see, and remember, this is just that little 3 or 4 kilometer area. You can see this is the mine down here. Guys, if you drill this, we press release this. This is going to be in the PFS. We put it in the press release. Here, you tighten up some of the drilling. Well, just right there, there's another 73, they're pretty specific, 73 million to 100 million underground high-grade ounces right there. And you go, okay, so now we're at 400 million. And I guess the point I'm making is going back to this, I'm going to start talking about it a lot more. We see right in front of us three on the book, old timers plus ours on the books, plus what they just said right there 400 million silver equivalent ounces. Wow. It's the same here, very same here going north. We'll get to that, not now, but we're going to drill. We got to go after that next 100 million, and we got to move inferred to indicated, because here's the plan. And we're going to end up on this because I think it's important for your viewers to understand this, is pit's done with a bow on it. Okay, great. Now what? Well, I'm going to make the date up. This is forward looking as forward looking can get. So no one come back next year and say, I thought you'd have your permit in March. I gotta have a time frame to start. Let's just say it's March 2025. Now I get a permit. Okay. In our study, and I can show you that quickly. In our study, you don't have to. It says 18 months to build that. That's what the independents have said. You can't do this faster than 18 months. We think we can. So let's just say that if a Francisco told me that he thought we could do it in 12, let's say it's 14. We think it's less than 18, but that's what's in the study because that's what had to be in the study because it's conservative. So let's just say it's 14. Get my permit. January next year, those bankers are lining up to give me some money. This is my make-believe world now, Peter. You're following along with me in my make-believe world. And we build it in 14 months. So it's the summer 2026, low capex, and I'm free cash flowing. What is it, 50 million USD a year at today's prices? It's something like that after tax. Boy, what am I going to do with that money? Well, I'm not going to start paying dividends. Maybe we will, but I'm not going to start lining up to pay dividends because I have a use for that. This needs to be built. The 800 ton per day operation, permitted. Mill is already on site. Well, how do we get to that? Well, I need to deliver first half of this year. Get ready for it. PEA, not for 31 years of production. It'll be matched up for 10 or 12 year mine life, the first stage of it for that 800 ton per day mill, because that's the right size for this project to start. Will that turn into 1,500 and 3,000 as years go by? Sure it will, but that's where we're going to start because that's the right place to start. So that being said, well, if I get that out H1 of next year, can't build on that, but I still have time because now I'm building the open pit, I'm getting ready. So I need to be, when that cash flow starts coming, summer of 2026, I need to have a PFS all done with a bow on it for the underground. And I think right now, looking over the horizon, a couple of hills, very forward looking, we should be able to build on that because I should be self-funding it. I don't have to impress anybody to loan me any money because I'm making money in my fairy tale business plan world. Okay, so that's the plan. What do we do right away? Well, I think people remember, or they should remember, that while we were drilling the 50,000 meters on this over the last year to get it finished, I stopped drilling underground. We didn't stop working underground. We knew holes from here were over. Let's get back in the old mine. And I'm just going to remind people, they probably remember. We said, let's open up the old Tigre mine. And there's what we have there now. It's, we're mucking out ore. It's a 5.5 by 5.5 meter opening. You can see it. It's commercial. It will be the haulage way for the mine. And I think something's very interesting is that I'm going to show something here. This is the old historical El Tigre mine. I think people should see this too if we can get it here to download onto my computer. There we go. This is really that kilometer and a half. This is where most of that 300 million that's already we saw the old timers are 200. The next 100 is going to be really simple. The old mine, the old timers went to 450 meters, 15 levels. The stopes, the black, we had every record. We went to the University of Wyoming, and people don't forget, Anaconda saved these in the 80s. All the original mine records ended up there because they came over and had a peek around in the 80s before Standard Oil put them out of business. We got all of it. We spent 2 months in that Anaconda collection in Wyoming. We digitized it. This is the old mine. It's very fascinating with this. The black was the stope. Look, it's really simple. We're not rocket scientists here. You can see the black is what they took. I'll show you what that really was. It was like this much. It was 10, 20, 30, 40 kilos silver. Just the vein. There's no drilling. They just drifted on it. But what was really neat for us is we had all the underground development records, and really simple. Like you can see where they were developing. They never mined it. They went home because silver went to 10 cents, 1930, Great Depression. It just stopped. And here we are 100 years later. But what's fascinating about this is, I'm going to go, oh, and as we drilled, open pit, really simple, 100 million. Keep drilling under and around it, especially down here, where they only went to 100 meters in the mining. And then we found that big, beautiful shale zone, 10, 20 meters epigenetic to the veins, blowout on all the veins, got 5 kilometers of it now. Not much good in the MRE, needs more drilling. 10, 20 meters of up to a kilo, 2 kilos. And then if you remember, just before we stopped, we found right there that sulfide zone, which is already 750 by 350 by 30, 40 wide. Never seen anything like it. Epigenetic to the veins, good plumbing outside those high-grade silver veins again. We'll talk about it in a minute. And, is it averaging 600 grams? All kinds of core with multi-kilo ore in it. So that being said, let's just look at this in plan view because it's interesting because this ties into what we're going to do next, okay? And you can see, actually, see the stope? It disappears. It was just that much. This is planned. But you can see here this is the old haulage rate for the old mine. That's where that 100 million silver equivalent ounces came out of. So we said, okay, let's just rehab that right here. Let's go. So we're right here right now. We're right not in the middle of the old mine. And so all the drilling now on will be from underground. I'll show you what that's going to do. It should start next week. I'm hoping next week. We walk right here now. The underground that we're talking about, I think people love history. This is the old mine. That's what we walk in. They left for us 100 years later. Incredible, eh? And you're fascinated by this. You do site visits. You appreciate this. We're going to get you down there, Peter. You got to come down and do a video or something. Maybe next year. We'll get you down. We'll do a big.
We'll be there. Yeah, no,
Let's do that because this is fascinating stuff. The history, the old mine. There's books written on this. We'll talk about that later. 2.5 by 2. That's where they hauled all that ore out. Not good enough for me. So really, what we did is we used Cominvi for this part. A couple $1 million later, they come in and slash it, which means they blast 1.5 meters at the time, and they give you 5.5 by 5.5, and beautiful mine portal. But what you get here is let me just go back to that. Excellent underground. That's the 5.5 by 5.5. Look, someday a lot of ore is going to come out. Right now, my drill rig's already gone in. So that's what it's really for. We had to have it big enough right off the bat to do that work. So, done. DEA coming. I got a drill. Drill will start turning from here next week. And you're going to see 600-meter holes to that sulfide zone, which is amazing. Turn into some of them 25, 30, 40 meters. You're going to hit that shale zone on the way, and you're going to get that high-grade vein. So, look, for me, all those drill results are for the PEA first half of next year. To find more high-grade ounces, move inferred to indicated, get ready for what's going to go in that mill for the first 10 years at 800 tons per day. But I got a feeling the market they have in the past, like high-grade silver results, 10, 20, 30 meters of maybe multi-kilo ore. That's what we drilled. That drove my market cap, even with AMLO, in a little better time before he really shut us down as far as sentiment, to 220 million. I'm 120 today. So I think this is going to be fun. So what I'm trying to say is PFS done to build that. We just keep going because it's always the same business plan. Pit,
Good.
low capex money, build this. Now we're going to get rid of that. So that's the whole story of what's coming. I really want to take the time to, it's almost like you get to the end and you say a PFS. Well, now they're just going to wait. No, that's done. Let's tick the box, get a permanent amendment, build it. Now get this ready for when that cash flows. This has always been the business plan, Peter. Nobody listened because AMLO shut me down. People thought I was out of my mind when I was talking for 2 years about my open pit and how beautiful it was. And they all would whisper after I went, seems like such a nice fellow. It's how he talks a lot. That's one problem with him. But does he know that AMLO's already gotten rid of open pit mining? No, he didn't. But this has always been the plan. We won't waver on it at all.
Good. No, thank you, Glenn. It's good to get a comprehensive view, and I'm excited by the drilling coming up. One of the main questions I have when you were explaining that, I think the PFS is pretty self-explanatory, and you explained it very well. But the 800 tons per day that you're having the amendment on, are you changing the volume on the amendment? Do you need to have a higher
No,
volume for
no,
the open pit?
we're just right now. Look, Mexico, that 800 ton per day. If it wasn't what I owned and it wasn't what we had the permit for, that would be the right size. Okay, and what you always have in Mexico, and we've seen in our experience, you can have what we call a hungry mill. Okay, and you don't want that narrow. We're very lucky because we have going after this narrow vein silver, you need a lot of faces open to fill an 800 ton per day mill. Luckily, as we go, we're going to get to some bulk tonnage zones that we've never seen. Just so you know, in our experience there, that's your flowering epithermal. That's all we've ever seen. This and this big sulfide zone, which is a massive sulfide, we've never seen. So we get a break on both of those, but you got to have enough faces open to fill that mill. A mill very close to me was 1,200 tons per day. A neighbor, I'm not going to talk about them. They had to change their mining plan because with narrow vein only silver, they almost basically could never have filled that mill. So then more dilution, a different mine plan. So from our perspective, what I think will happen is 800 will take me 31 years to get the ore I already have. We're starting here. That will turn into at some point 1,500 and at some point maybe 3,000. I'm just speaking forward looking here. But go look at all the big 3,000 ton per day operations. Not many of them. I know the history of them. Not many of them started at 3,000.
But no, the only reason I ask is obviously if you're looking to get an amendment from an underground permit, 800 tons per day, to open pit, obviously if you're changing the amount, I'd imagine that would prolong the process. If you're
We're not messing at all with the permit we already have. We're just looking for an amendment right now. I'm going to tell you right now, our MIA is filed that way, and
okay,
we
so
made that.
relatively speaking, it's fairly straightforward. You're basically looking just to amend it from an underground permit to an open pit permit.
So what our MIA is filed that way, and what people should know, a MIA is, that's your application. That's the name, what we call it in Mexico. So certainly after Francisca came in, I think it was June or July of 2023, we've gone through that whole process. Okay. There's been no surprises in that process. I think people have to know that everything they asked for, we did. When they came back, they comment like it's nothing has come up in that process. The only thing that came up in the process was the government said, even if they're ready, we're not issuing them. There was a lot of permits in Mexico that could get issued tomorrow. There's no more work to be done. It's gone through the process. Ours too. So there's nothing untoward in any of these applications where they say you can't do it. They would just get to the end and it would be, we're just not issuing them right now. So I want people to understand
There's
that.
a big difference from starting an application from scratch in regards to having no permits to having an amendment to an existing permit.
Very, like you think about it, you've got all the environmental background work has been done. All of that work is done. All of the area has been done. The fauna, the native animals, everything. And you got to remember that you've been approved for your cyanide, because what was approved was for a Merrill Crow. These work the same way. So you're really got a lot of it in your back behind you because it was done, and now you just have to do the amendments so that it can work with the open pit.
Okay, and the heap leach method that you're talking about in the open pit, are you going to be using a similar method for the underground? So for obviously the sulfide zone and the
So
black
so
shell
so
zone.
uh, you're going to see open pit heap leach. I've explained it. Simple. Okay. What we're going to see when we basically, excuse me, look at the underground, it's going to be basically it's just going to be a mill which will transition to flotation. As you get deeper, we're going to get into more and more base metals. So this is going to be an 800 ton per day mill. Merrill Crow will produce the doré bar. None of this will go into heap leach, the underground.
Okay, good. Look, tell me a little bit more about what to expect. Obviously, you're going underground. You're doing some more drilling. I think that's going to be just as exciting as releasing a PFS, if not more so. I think the drill bit really moves the market in these times anyway. When are the drill rigs turning? Obviously, I'm going to be on site next year. Will I be able to see some of this going on?
Well, I can tell you now is that the first drill rig is basically in position underground, and it would be turning today, except we're just waiting. We're underground. We're waiting for the one piece of equipment, in this case, a fan, to arrive that we've just had to purchase. Drilling underground is different than just being underground. As I've been in that underground many times. So once that's arrives and installed, the drill is going to turn like tomorrow, next Tuesday, where there's no mobilization. The drill is there, sitting in underground. Drillers are there. Let's get this turning. And my goal is to get some of this high grade shale, sulfide, and vein results out into the market before Christmas. That's what I want to do. But always remembering, it's great that the retail will like it. I mean, people love high grade silver results, especially with the prices we have for the metals right now. But every hole we drill is PEA first half next year for the underground. But look, would I rather be drilling 100 meters of a gram gold in the open pit? Incredible, wonderful result. We've done tons of that in the last 40, 50,000 meters. Nobody gets excited about that. I get excited about that. Our team who builds it gets excited about it. They will get excited about, I think the first hole we had through that sulfide zone was 40 meters over a kilo. I mean, we've drilled the vein up to 86 kilos, a meter or two. And that sulfide, regular intercepts of that of 10, 15, 20 meters of north of a kilo or two. If we put those out, which we expect we will, then I think people are going to like them. So yes, it's going to be very nice to have that out in the market for sure.
Good. Final question, just more on funding. Um, I get the impression there's a bit of a sense that potentially a capital raise might be coming. I don't see how that could be true, but how well funded are you at the moment to carry on drilling? And obviously, in my mind, the ideal time when you'd want to be going to the market is when you've got your permit in hand, and you're probably going to be revalued massively differently based on the de-risking and the new drill results.
The smart people would realize, okay, a couple of things. Number one, I'm going to step back from that and we're going to talk about market. First of all, one thing I want to talk about, I don't want it to get lost, is last week we were very fortunate to be invited to New York for a small get-together of some of the top silver companies, producers, developers. Okay, I think there was less than 10 there. You would have had Core were there, First Majestic, Aya, all my peers, and we were very lucky to be happy to be at the table. And we all presented to each other, and we talked about projects and this and Mexico. So it was very interesting. One thing I didn't say is that I can tell you that those very smart people, when they saw and we talked about what we were doing, they thought we hit a home run. I'm not going to pull any punches. They thought we hit a home run. So let's talk about the market now. And then everyone I've talked to, institutional, all those people, the analysts, home run. But let's face it, we had a quick move. Okay, we had a quick move in Mexico before this mine came out. And do I think that some of that quick move, look, the fast money is always on quick moves. We know that. That's just how it works. Did I expect some of that was going to come out? Absolutely. I expected we'd go down 15, 20%. We've been hit harder than that. That surprised me. But that's, people can buy and sell stock. At some point, whoever wants to take those profits, and that's what that is, in my opinion, they'll run out and we're going to start moving in the right direction. That's number one. Second thing you asked about is, am I going to need to raise money? No. Because here's what comes. The second thing is, the last 4 or 5 PFSs that come out that we've seen, and we were told, I knew this going in, for whatever reason, it's a selling opportunity. And we expected that would happen, and it did happen. Profit taking because we ran up so fast, because of the Mexico turning back on. PFS, everybody seems to sell a little bit there. All good stuff. And then I start hearing, you're going to raise money. I need to raise debt and equity. You can rest assured, when I raise the money for this mine to build it, I will already have a permit. And I know what valuations I'll be raising at. The smart people have figured this out. So I can mention it, okay, right here. Probably one of the first times I've actually talked about it. If they were looking at our financial statements, they would notice that our cash position has been going up dramatically. Now, I'm not in production, so they're probably saying, how is that happening? Um, and it's all disclosed in the financial statement, so I can talk about it. Maybe I should just get out and press release it so people will stop this. He doesn't have any money. We're approaching close to $10 million still in treasury. Remember my last, we've done well. My last bought deal, BMO led it, 2 years ago, February coming. I said we'd have everything done that we did, and we'd still have 10 million left. I'm a little shy. I'm just under 10. Okay. But we were down a little lower than that, and now we moved back up. You've probably heard of a VAT tax in Mexico. It's very difficult to get back. We've been working on that process very hard for a number of years, and it's disclosed in the financial statements. We've received here in the last month or two a substantial amount of that tax back. We expect to get some more. So it's almost like I'm not a very nice form of non-dilutive financing. So I don't need to do anything right now. I don't want people to think that I'm going to go out there at these valuations and grab a lot of money. I'm not. And do people think that? Sure. There's all kinds of players in the market that they look at PFS and then they see 86, what do they see? $86 million he needs. Financials are showing the last ones. They haven't read them and they realize that really he's not at that value. He's collected all this VAT. He's double what they think I have. Lots of money in the bank. Well, he's going to have to raise money. So we're going to get ready for that. I'm going to give you some securities law information. And I've heard this rumor also that I was going to do a big bought deal financing. And you know how I do bought deal financings. There's no warrant ever. I've never done them. Never will. Well, I shouldn't say never. It's not in my plan. And I've proven that. And that was the rumor I heard, that I was going to do a big finance. And I just kept saying, and I am a securities lawyer. And I said, do any of these people actually think? Because I filed my PFS. It's a press release. I don't file my report for 45 days. It'll be December. Do they understand that I'm in the penalty box? I can't do a bought deal financing until that disclosure is out, because it would have to be out to put in a prospectus. So I'm educating some people about this right now. And so rumors are rumors. There's nothing we can do. I have enough money in the bank today to drill into next year from this underground and deliver that PEA in the first half of next year for the underground. Full stop right now. What happens as we re-rate and Mexico comes back on and I get a permit and permits are issued, we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. But I'm not raising any money today.
Good. All right. Look, Glenn, best of luck with the drilling. Best of luck with the PEA as you're working on that. And I'm keeping my fingers crossed for a permit. So look,
Yeah.
if we do start seeing some permits come through before, obviously not necessarily on Tiger, but even on other projects in Mexico, come back on. Let's chat about it.
I would love to do that, and I'll see it. I'll see you at Mines and Money. I think you said you're going to be there in London. And we got a big market. I think you should know about this, Peter. Because some of your folks, we've been talking for a long time, and they were shareholders, and if they're still shareholders, they believed when I said Mexico would get better and AMLO would leave and not kill everything. And many didn't believe me, but those that did are going to get rewarded. If I put this in production, go look at my peers and their valuation, look at my valuation. Full stop. That's number one. Number two, though, is I was beating my head against the wall while AMLO was there, and I was really even beating my head against the wall until October. So I didn't go dark, but I didn't market as much as I normally would for the last 2 years. I didn't. I just put my head down, got my money, got to hear that we're the winner. And those that didn't stop are ready to build now. I don't care which company it is, they're the winners. Okay, and especially in Mexico. That being said, we're going and we're going to tell the world about El Tigre, the next silver mine coming to production. I mean, we were in Beaver Creek, we were in Denver. I just got back from New York, 2 trips to New York. We're going to divide and conquer here. My VPIR is going to New Orleans. I'm going to go to 121 in Dubai. We're back. It's just then mines and money. We're telling the world about the next great silver mine. So I think that's going to resonate now. And we're just waiting for the drill results. We're waiting for the re-rating on a permit. We kind of think that it's kind of our time now. So I just want to thank all the shareholders who might have listened to us over the last 2 or 3 years in a very tough sentiment time in Mexico. If you've waited and you've been there, you're going to do well. And if you're not in yet, I think there's an opportunity here for a great re-rating of Silver Tiger.
Good, Glenn. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much.